What is happening, everybody? My name's Bright Life. This is my fancy shirt. I need a new mic stand. The key to Erebor.
Okay, will you buy this?
Kind of like I have the key to your mom's heart. And today I want to talk to you about Update 33.1, the newest patch to Lord of the Rings Online, and why I'm just a little bit concerned based on what I've seen. Let's jump into it. Now, I want to start this video off by talking about the concerns that I have about the two primary features of this patch, the Elladan and Elrohir further adventures and the updates from the PvMP front. And you know, it's an interesting thing to make a video as a content creator about something that you're a little bit nervous about, something that you're critical about, because really easily it can become something where you feel guilty for playing the game that you love. So I just want to reiterate this right now. My mission is to bring positive content and love the games that I play, and I really do love Lord of the Rings Online. But I think that when you love something and you see something that you're concerned about, it's a better act of love to actually call that thing out, try to give some easy solutions, and then move on from there. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to talk about these two things, why they give me concern for the future of the game. I want to be able to call out the things that I'm not too certain about, but then also, of course, give easy to use solutions to the issues that I think will make the game better and better and really give this amazing game a lot more of a chance from a new player's perspective. Now, I want to come at this from a new player's perspective. And you know, there's people like me and people like veterans of the game like Mei Hatsume, Green-Eyed Gamer Girl, Louis7. These people are established in this game. They already love the game for what it is, but I think we always have to remember that from an MMO's perspective, we have to be thinking about the new player. That new, fresh off the block elf hunter that is just so excited to go shoot some orcs. We have to worry about them because when they see things in the game that are good, it makes them want to stay longer, which adds to the health of the game. But if they see things that are not good, it can really add to a detriment of the game. And so we want to worry about them. So let's talk about these two special note releases that just came out in this patch. And the first one is the further adventures of Elladan and Elrohir. Here's the quick synopsis. Soon after Frodo's rescue from the Ford of Bruinen, the scouts of Rivendell venture forth, seeking news on the enemy and his servants. Lord Elrond has given his sons Elladan and Elrohir a secret errand. Join the twins on their journey from Rivendell to the distant lands of Lothlorien. And so for me, one of my favorite quests that I've ever played in my life playing MMORPGs was the further adventures of Bilbo Baggins. I thought it was such a great idea for this game to explore a character that the book doesn't necessarily reference in this moment of the adventure, but it allows you to really think what would happen because, of course, Bilbo is an adventure bug. He loves going on adventures. The whole Adventure of the Ring kind of, you could say, technically really started with Bilbo. And so you can imagine that for someone like Bilbo, he may have been feeling a bit left out when the rest of the crew went on this errand. In fact, in the book, you see Bilbo actually stand up as the first volunteer to take the ring to Mordor. And Gandalf says, "No, your time is done, my friend." And so it leads us to think about, as Lord of the Rings fans, how would Bilbo have taken his nephew and then all of his friends going off on an adventure without him? And further adventures of Bilbo Baggins really allowed us to explore that element. And I thought that was really cool. It was really well written. The story was end to end. You know, you started by Bilbo disappeared and you ended with, well, I won't spoil it for you, but you end up with a complete story and it's really, really beautiful. And so I was personally most excited about this further adventures. I was excited because we were going to be able to go to Lorien. We were going to get to know Elladan and Elrohir, Elrond's sons, just a little bit more. They're great lore characters. And so when I booted up the game, that's the first thing I did. I went straight to Elrond's house and I started the quest, and immediately I'm off with Elladan and Elrohir. And I gotta tell you, from quest 1, I was immediately hooked because I loved this idea of Elladan and Elrohir, who are mentioned quite a bit in the book, but you know, for moviegoers, maybe for casual fans, you may not even know that Elrond has sons. And as a fellow sibling like them, you gotta think it's a little bit rough for them because their sister is the literal like reincarnated embodiment of Luthien, the most beautiful elf in the world, and she becomes the Queen of Gondor. So it's cool that we get to give Elladan and Elrohir a little bit of love. And from the very first quest, I was hooked, because I loved that as you started into this, you start into this brotherly fight between who can kill the most of like the little veil flies and invading wildlife in the first quest. And I thought that was a really cool thing. Like, what would the dynamic be between two elf brothers who were, in comparison to the elves, basically eternal life? These are like young brothers. These are like teenagers at the time for the elves. And I thought that was a really cool thing. And so, you know, you go and you help one brother cheat the other brother essentially, and the other brother's like, hey, you were helping him. I thought it was between us. It was great. It was a really cool thing. And then we find the Nazgul's cloak that apparently has gone off into the wilderness. And so we're on this quest to try to find out what happened to the Nazgul. And then on the next quest, we actually go through the mountain passes where the story takes on this more somber tone. And again, so well written, because they say the last time that we traveled through here was when we were with our mom, bringing her back from this awful warg camp, and she actually ended up not being able to heal even with our father's help, and we had to send her across the sea to the undying lands of the west. And there's this like, wow, this is really powerful. But see, on this quest begins the unraveling, I think, of this experience for me, because you're following this shady figure and you're kind of wondering who it is. Of course, it seems like it's a Nazgul, but maybe it could be like a shady figure of the mom. Maybe it could be something different, because it's just interesting, right? The mystery is there. It's exciting. I'm wondering who this shady figure is. And so I'm looking forward to the next couple of quests, at least hopefully 10 quests, because, you know, we want to find out who this is. And then as we continue to go through, we enter Lorien, which is really exciting for me because it's the first time we enter Lorien, and we start finding out that there are wargs in the forest, which is terrible because right by Galadriel's power, there are these evil wargs. How is this possible? And so we kill the wargs and we kill a warg captain. And then we find out there's this named warg that we're supposed to kill, which is exciting. And I'm like, oh cool, a named enemy that we get to go after, and then hopefully we get to find out who the shade is at the end of it. Like, is it one of the Nazgul, or is it maybe a shade of their mom? Like, who could it possibly be? And then we go into Caras Galadrim, where Galadriel lives, and the quest ends. Like, legitimately, the quest ends. You get the achievement. You just completed it. We don't find out who the warg was that is like the leader of the pack. We don't find out who the shade is. It's very, very weird, and it feels unfinished. And as I've asked some other people about it, I've been saying, hey, is this normal? Is this a normal thing? And I was just a little bit kind of like, I wonder, this didn't seem to resolve any of the story elements, which is, of course, for me, what LOTRO is strongest at. It's these greatly written quest text pieces, and I was just very confused, and I was a little bit further confused by the fact that they charged real money for this quest line. You know, if it was an incomplete quest line and you didn't charge money, then hey, it's free, but they charged real money to say, hey, come have this full quest experience, and unless I read something wrong, it did not end. There was no resolution. We didn't find the Nazgul. We didn't find out who the shade was. We didn't find out who this warg chieftain is. We weren't able to attack the camp that apparently we were supposed to go to. Everything seemed to be leading to further action, but there was no action. And then to charge money for that is very, very strange. Now, granted, they do charge less money. They charge 295 LOTRO points, which is less than the Bilbo quest at 495, because that one has 10 quests. This one has 5. But overall, I was just a little bit confused. I was left kind of scratching my head going, wait, it's over? You may even actually be able to see on stream right now as I put that out there exactly what I mean. I was really genuinely confused by this. Is the new player coming in to experience this, right? You've got people like me who restarted their journey at the 15th anniversary, and then they come to do this quest. They're excited for the first content drop since the 15th anniversary, and then it turns out to kind of be like a halfway finished quest, and it doesn't make me feel like the devs are very excited about their content. So as I finished that, honestly, I was kind of like disappointed, but I was like, you know what, maybe there's just a bug, maybe something's going on. Let's go over to PvMP, because apparently there are these brand new interesting systems, and I was very excited about it. In fact, I put out a very critical video of PvMP, the whole system, and then this like came out right after that, so it made me very excited. But here's what the update was supposed to have. It says, experience the thrill of player versus player combat with the new PvMP PvMP options. You can become a monster player after your main character reaches level 2. If you wish to fight on the side of heroes, you can ride your character into the Ettenmoors at level 20, where you will be scaled up to better handle the carnage. Audacity is now essential for survival in the Ettenmoors. As you reach level 140, you will acquire more audacity and gear to better handle the fight. Now, this is a cool thing because it addressed immediately, at least based on the text up front, it addressed these issues that I thought PvMP really had, which was, of course, first of all, the scaling was really not great. When you roll into the Ettenmoors as a lower than 140 character, you're typically scaled up to around 200,000 to maybe 300,000 health, where a monster player that just rolls off the block rolls off at 1.4 and 1.5 million health. And that's crazy. That's a crazy difference. And really, the gameplay really reflected that. If you went out as a level 40 and you got upscaled to this 300,000 or 250,000 health, you would go out to try to fight any monster character and immediately be wiped off the face of the earth because their attacks do typically somewhere between 100 and 150,000 damage. So really 2 attacks, you're done for. And then the introduction of this audacity system made me excited because if you roll a brand new monster player, even with your 1.4 million health, you go out to try to fight a free player that's, level 140 or even upscaled, and you find yourself falling over and over again. You don't do barely any damage to these high-end characters that have worked very hard on their character. And so the audacity system was exciting because if this was a way where, lower level players got more audacity, like the post said, and then over time got less audacity and then you had to grow it with gear again, that's exciting because it gives the lower leveled free players the ability to actually be competitive on the battlefield, and it gives the monster players the ability to be competitive as they just roll off the block. My personal philosophy with PvP is that the only thing that should make you stronger or weaker than your opponent in PvP is the ability to play your class well, know your rotations, and really know how to play your class in a PvP scene. I don't really think that there should be power elements that go for the veteran players where you get much more power than lower level characters. I just think that there's no real win for that. I've never seen it balanced well, which is why I really like, Final Fantasy's, World of Warcraft's PvP, because when you go in, whether you're a level 20 or a level 60, 80, whatever it is, you go in and immediately you've got the ability to fight the person opposite you on a pretty even ground. Now, they're going to know their class more than you, and so the reward comes from knowing your class and the ability to do it well, but that's what I personally like. So I don't necessarily love this system personally, but hey, I wanted to give it a shot. Now, so what I did immediately was I took my Warden into the PvMP zones. It was cool. The day of, the PvMP zones were completely full. There were a lot of people there. And immediately I noticed one of the big glaring issues, which was, of course, that when I upscaled, I was still only upscaled to 210, 240,000 health. But I thought, hey, maybe the audacity's there. I'll go out into the field and I'll try it out. So I went out into the field. I tried to kill a monster player, killed in 2 hits, wasn't able to really do any damage to the monster player. And again, like, you can add audacity all you want to. I didn't even really notice any of the effects of the audacity myself, but still, as a new player rolling out into PvMP, it's a completely unplayable system. So I thought, hey, let's try it out over on the creep side, over on the monster player side. I did the same thing, rolled myself right out onto the battlefield, and immediately died. Didn't do any damage, took some audacity boosters as well, really tried with a newly rolled warg to try to do some damage. Couldn't do anything. The high-leveled, high-end PvP players that had grinded for it for forever are still able to defeat me because I only have 3 real attacks and like 1 little speed boost, where the people on the other side have all of their attacks and tons of potions and all these things that you can get. And so I would have to grind out levels for this character, but the problem is that there's people ready to gank you at all times as you're trying to level your character up. So it becomes a really frustrating prospect to do. And so really, unfortunately, I didn't really notice Audacity give any sort of big benefit. I am very excited that they actually opened this up to more people, but I didn't see the benefit and the win in this one yet. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's something I need to learn. Maybe I did something wrong here as a newer player, but that's kind of the point, isn't it? Because the reality is I did a lot of research on this. I tried to figure out what I did wrong. I was trying to understand, but for a newer, more casual player that doesn't make content for LOTRO, they're probably not not going to do that. They're going to get into the Ettenmoors with their lower leveled free player, and they're going to immediately get killed. They're going to switch over to the monster player and not be able to do any damage and get killed pretty quickly by these people that have been grinding this thing forever. And, you know, they're going to go, broken system, not really good for me. And for some of them that love PvP, that may be the impetus for them to actually leave the game, which is a real big bummer because I think this game has so much to offer. Now, of course, I did promise you. I promised to talk to you about my concerns, and those are my concerns. I don't like that. It shows kind of a half-heartedness, in my opinion, to actually do updates well that really work, that both of these key elements of the update really kind of seem broken to me. They don't really seem like they really delivered what they were selling, unfortunately, and that makes me nervous because there's a really big season coming for LOTRO in September. With the release of the Rings of Power, there are going to be a lot of people coming into this game, and so I want to see LOTRO win, but this kind of a thing coming out in July makes me really nervous, and my real positive spin on it is hopefully they're spending all of their development time working on a graphics update or a server-side update that allows the servers to maintain and hold more players as Rings of Power comes out, and maybe they just didn't have the capital to really put into making sure these systems work. That's my big positive take on it, but I do want to offer some encouragement to the development team. Here are the things that I would do differently if I were you next time when you release an update. Of course, I'm not quitting LOTRO. I love the game. I want to stick with it, but as more come out, here's what I would do differently. First of all, with Elladan and Elrohir, make sure that the story is ended from start to finish. Make sure that there are bookends to the story. This may fit into some higher level Lothlorien story, or maybe you're expecting to release a chapter 2 to this one. That should be really clearly communicated if that's the case. And if you're going to make someone spend money on the quest, make sure that they know that this is not a complete story. That, hey, chapter 2 is going to be coming out in a couple months, or, you know, this falls in line with book 3, chapter 5 in the Lothlorien story. That's all okay, but there was just no communication of that. I can't find it anywhere, and so it left me with an empty taste in my mouth. So communicate more and then finish your stories if you can. But if you're looking forward to doing some sort of bigger, better future thing, that's totally fine. Just communicate that in some way, even if it's just a little red text at the bottom of one of the quests. Let us know that it's not the finished product, or that there's going to be a chapter 2 coming up in a couple of months. All right, and then PvMP front, I talked about this in my previous video, but I really think that there are a couple things that could really help. First of all, the upscaling on the characters on the free side needs to be completely fixed. There is no reason where a new player rolling off the block in Monster Play should have 1 million more health than a player coming in outside of Monster Play. The player coming in should have at least 1.2, 1.3 million health, and they should be viable against the monster players on the other side. On the other side of that, if Audacity is the answer to it, whatever it may be, on this side, on the monster player side, players need to come out with all of their active attacks. Every single active attack that you can train, they need to have that right out the gate, because the opponents that they're going up against have way more attacks, way more utility than they do. One compromise that I can see, if you don't want to give them everything, is to give them all of their big active damaging attacks right away, but maybe take the quality of life features or maybe some of the passives and let them earn those through the infamy points. But really, I think that not having your attacks right away, not being able to do damage, just makes the new player experience really garbage, and it's not fun to play right now. And I think that those would be easy things to fix and to change. I think overall in PvMP, the highest level free player characters need a bit of a nerf. Captains and champions should not be able to tank 8, 9 different monster players at a time. They need to nerf their defensive abilities, maybe make some of the consumables and tokens not usable in the Ettenmoors to make it an actual risk to go up one-on-one with a champion, or to go one-on-one with a Black Arrow. It would be nice to know that there's a little bit of risk from a free player side, rather than them just rolling completely through an entire mob of creeps with just like 2 or 3 people. I just think that that's really a bummer, and I'd like to see that change and be a little bit different. All right, well, that's my update on update 33.1. A little bit disappointed, would love to see some things. I'm a little bit concerned about the future, but I also really love this game. I think the devs have put together a fantastic game with a great story, and I look forward to seeing even more as I continue to level through the experience. I do think that the things that I saw today have easy solutions, but I also think that there are some things that lead to concerns, and I would really love to just pass that off to you. What do you think? Are you concerned at all, or is this just pretty much normal for you? Do you think that this means that they're working on something bigger and they didn't have the time to really put towards update 33.1, or is it maybe just they put out a not great product this time, and hopefully we can hope for the best next time. I would love to see your answers in the comments below. But hey friends, before I go, just want to do a quick plug. We have a Patreon up right now and also a merch store. They're great ways to help support the channel. If you want to see more videos like this and with other games, please be sure to support in those ways if you can. I would really appreciate it. But friends, as always, I just want you to know two things. You are so much more loved than you know, and you are so much more valuable than you realize. I hope you have an absolutely incredible day, and I will see you in the next one. Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. I want to let you know a couple ways to connect with me. First of all, we got an awesome Discord in the description. We've got a Patreon if you'd like to give to the channel and help support more video creation. And I am live on Twitch quite often over at twitch.tv/brightlifecommunity. Would love to see you there. Always love interacting on those live video streams. But I hope you have an incredible day, my loved and valued friend. Have an awesome one.